Hello everyone and welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. For today, the footage in the background is going to be world versus world stuff, and yay, I've actually got Commander now, so it should be far more fun and easier for you guys when we're actually out doing these events together. Once again, I'm recording this before actually filming, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to try and keep us away from just hammering on gates and keeps constantly, and maybe going around to camps a little bit more. I don't know, because obviously when you've got a big group you want to be taking on the keeps, but the footage can get a little bit boring when we're just slamming on a gate constantly, so we'll see what happens. But in any case, if you want to join for future versions of these events, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll be announcing about an hour. I've kind of fallen into this rhythm now of I record and then I tweet out, okay, we'll do it in an hour while I edit everything up. So that's what we'll be doing, and everybody is welcome to come along. A few of you have already kind of come up to me in game or seen that I've got Commander, and I've started to have a lot of people asking, hey, how did you make gold? How did you do this? How did you do this? I didn't take any donations or anything, but at the same time, I don't think I'm really that good at earning gold. I've just kind of had a lot of alts that I've managed to shuffle money around off of, and I've never really spent any money either in the game. So I had about 60 gold-ish that I just had saved up and hadn't spent really any of it. And when Halloween came on, it's a bit of a cop-out, honestly, but I bought gems and traded those for the last little bit of money because I knew it would push me over the edge. The exchange, if you guys are, I know people kind of frown on doing that a little bit, but if you are interested, this is kind of the time to do it. So many people are buying gems, want gems right now for the Blackline keys, for the Blackline chests. It's a brilliant time to just get gems to swap into gold rather than trying to play this lottery that everyone's now suddenly complaining about because they're not adults and they don't understand that they're not entitled to anything when it's a lottery. But in any case, so that's kind of how I got the last little bit. I do have Commander now. It's made things a lot easier and it's quite fun. It seems to me that a lot of the Commander UI, I was going to put a video out and be like, okay, this is how squads work. This is kind of cool, interesting. But it seems to me, it could just be me, but a lot of the UI doesn't seem to be working. I can't actually see who's in my squad, for example, and I don't seem to be able to invite people into my squad either, though I can use squad chats, but only if someone's let me know that they're already in there, so it's a little bit confusing. But yeah, so you might want to hold off and perhaps spend your gold on something else, maybe some of these other titles that are going out there. There's so much in the game that the more I'm playing, the more I want to spend money, so it's getting harder and harder for me to save it. The one thing I did do, I guess I could share, that really I only did because I got lucky, was you can buy like 100 dies and then try your luck and open as many as those. It cost me about 4 gold to buy 100 unidentified dies, and if you get lucky, you'll probably end up like around 10 gold dies out of that, rare dies, the rarest dies you can get. And if you strike it, you can get, say, an abyss die, and that one die on its own will make up for the price you spent on all 100, and then you just have 99 other dies you can sell for pure profit. And that's what I did twice, though the second time I did it, I didn't really earn that much money because I tried to go to the Mystic Forge, because as you know, you can put 4 dies in the Mystic Forge and you've got a chance of getting something of a higher rarity back out, but that chance seems to be very, very low, and I particularly wouldn't recommend doing it. Maybe do it with your blues because they're only worth copper, but don't do it with greens because they'll be about a silver each and you'll be lucky to get like 2 golds out of it, and a lot of the golds are worth barely more than the greens are in the first place. So yeah, that's kind of my recommendation with that, but it's not really a money making strategy. I would say probably you're gonna have to spend a lot of time looking at trading post stuff if you seriously want to earn a lot of money very quickly, or just grind, do an awful lot of ore. It depends what your goals are really though in game. But yeah, so there's all of that. I thought I'd start off today with a little bit of news, I suppose, that's come out. As you may or may not know, there's been another patch that came out a little while ago, further refining a lot of this Halloween content and the new content. There was this bit of a mess up where we were all looking forward to this token we'd get for having beaten Zhaitan, which we could exchange for a unique new endgame item, which actually looked really cool. If you've not been interested in this, if you've logged in, you've seen you've got the mail, the skins are pretty nice, so I would recommend trying it out. You can go to the PvP lockers in the Heart of the Mists to preview anything in the game, so you can go there to check it if you want, but you've got this free token now. There was a little while though where you would have the token and you couldn't actually go in and spend it, but they put out a patch that fixed that, as well as a lot of minor other things, in particular including they've added these Mad King chests. So this is actually a way for you to now get these unique items that can come from the Blackline chests without ever having to spend any gems. So you now can get everything that's available in this Halloween content entirely in-game without even having to exchange up for gems, which can be done in-game anyway as long as you have enough gold. But yeah, so if you put in 1 piece of candy corn, 6 mystery tonics and 2 boosters in the last 2 slots, you can actually trade those up for a Mad King's chest. The rates on those are still very, very low. I had about 11 of them that I decided to put in, in. I didn't get any of the super rare Halloween stuff in return, but it was fun anyway, and it was a chance to use up a lot of those boosters that I never would have used. Funnily enough, one of the boosters is that Rampager experience booster, and that can't be used in the recipe, and that's the one booster I really would want to get rid of first, but you can't use it for some reason, so there's that. So yeah, if you have done already a lot of the Halloween stuff, but you're not aware, there has been a slight tweak. If you want a shot at the chainsaw or the really nice shield that's currently selling for a ridiculous amount of money, then perhaps this is your chance. The patch also removed all hidden trick-or-treat bag nodes from Lion's Arch. I believe, I saw on Reddit, I believe this was to do with an exploit that people were doing where they just got tons and tons of the trick-or-treat bags. So I guess that's why those have been removed. So a bit of a shame there, but hey, it was an exploit anyway. I don't think anyone got banned for it. So they've been a little bit more relaxed on that as well. Have you noticed nothing's flared up on that recently? I do think originally, a long time ago, with that whole, oh, we're going to ban everyone with exploits, it's to scare people and make people, think twice, which is a good thing. And I wouldn't want to undermine that by just saying, oh no, don't worry about it, guys, exploit till high help. But this does show that ArenaNet are being reasonable, so you can give them credit for that. So that's kind of the main news for as far as updates have come out goes. We've got Act 2 to look forward to pretty soon. I do have a couple of bits of Halloween trivia that I kind of just want to say. I'm probably not going to say any of the other Guild Wars videos I'll be doing, but there's some interesting little things you might have noticed around Halloween. I don't have a huge list here. These are just kind of my favourite. First of all, the plastic spiders. I only found this out today. The little plastic spiders that are out there in game, if you can actually swing the camera underneath them, they actually have written really small on print on their underside where you wouldn't usually be able to see. They have made interior written on them, like engraved on the plastic. It might even be there on the mini pet. I've not checked that though. Another cool thing to do, speaking of points in Lion's Arch, if you are still doing the quest or you scan there, go to the diving board in Lion's Arch, because if you dive off, there's actually a series of rings you can jump through, and if you go through all of them, you'll actually net yourself 5 trick-or-treat bags. So you can exchange 1 piece of candy corn for 5 trick-or-treat bags, which is a pretty damn good deal, and it's quite fun to do it as well, going off the diving board. That's something quite nice. My favourite thing though is the writing around the statue in the middle of Lion's Arch, where the meta event's going on, where we're watching this bar charge up with the glowing light breaking out of it and the lion that's slowly deteriorating. Usually that writing says something along the lines of united we rise. It's a statue that all 5 of the major races have contributed in some way, and it's about how they've all been knocked back by the Elder Dragons in some way, but they're uniting and now they're standing together. It's this nice kind of text about that. But now that Halloween's going on, they actually changed that writing there, which you might not have noticed, and it now says something like welcome to the Mad Realm, or the Mad Realm comes, something along those lines. It's really actually quite cool that they changed that, and amazing that someone had actually noticed. So yeah, that's one of the other cool things that they did. Lastly, you might not have noticed, but the end of the quest chain you can do, if you can call it that really, for Act 1 will reward you, of course, with this backslot item, this spell book. Now that also has some flavor text on it, which reads, stories yet untold, despite the tower that marks a spooky site. When humans flee their home of old, where they settle cannot be told. That actually is a hint that if you then go that one step further, even though you're kind of done, it will actually lead you to the Ascalon settlement, and if you scan there, you can actually find where Act 2 begins as well. There's a little bit of dialogue there you can interact with, and you'll see that that's likely where we'll be able to go with Act 2. Right now it's just got a kind of a flavour message that tells you to come back later. But that's something really interesting too, which I'm ashamed to say I didn't think to do for myself. But yeah, so much cleverer and much more keen-eyed people have spotted some cool stuff with this Halloween update. That's not all of it. There is so much small stuff going on. I'll try and keep you posted with other videos as we go forward. But yeah, one other final thing before we go into the question for today is that this is something people have been talking about a fair bit. ArenaNet have talked about how they're developing some kind of Dota or MOBA style gameplay. Now, some people are obviously just going to take this, oh, ArenaNet are making another game. I don't think for a second ArenaNet are developing something outside of Guild Wars 2 that's some kind of Dota style game. I think rather that means they're going to be some kind of mini game, some kind of activity inside Guild Wars 2 that will actually function in this way, which wouldn't be surprising to me since we saw it in the first game too. The question obviously arises, is this going to be an activity? Is this something we're going to be able to always play? How in-depth are the mechanics going to be? I don't think it's going to be an activity. It looks to me like ArenaNet have they're ignoring activities for now. Like, they could have quite easily made Costume Brawl, for example, into an activity that goes on in a specific place in one of the towns or something like that, but I think they've just kind of pushed that to the side and they'll work on that feature later. I think that this Dota/MOBA style gameplay thing is going to be a mini game very similar to Costume Brawl, only hopefully much more in depth and involved, and somewhat similar to MOBA style games we get outside of Guild Wars 2. I would really enjoy that if it really worked like that. And we'll probably be seeing it releasing at Christmas, at Winter's Day, because that's where we saw it in Guild Wars 1. It was only in the later years, admittedly, but it was a mini game that you could play specifically during Christmas, just like Costume Brawl is something that you can play specifically during Halloween. So this should be quite fun to see how they do. Honest opinion though, I don't think it'll be that amazing. I'm not sure whether I should take what we saw in Guild Wars 1 with a pinch of salt though. The first game, it really wasn't that fun, and it was originally just a PvE style thing. It was the same kind of gameplay. You had the 2 bases, you had towers, you had creep and so forth, but it was just a PvE thing. And then in the most recent Winter's Day, they did make it PvP, which is very commendable, and I'm very happy that they continue to do the updates. It wasn't massively fun though. It wasn't this incredible thing. I had a great moment when I played that I actually caught on video, but beside that, it wasn't incredible. But at the same time, with Guild Wars 1, there weren't too many people working on it, so we could expect to see something really fun come out of this, especially if it is going to be a Winter's Day thing, which again is just my speculation. But if it is going to be a Winter's Day style thing, they're doing this a couple of months in advance at least, and they already show that they're working on it. Guild Wars 2 is a game that could function well like this. As we know, in these types of games, you have very few skills, very specific skills, depending on what kind of character you're playing. That fits very easily into Guild Wars 2, this idea, especially if you look at the Costume Brawl of, you would equip a tonic, for example, and then you would be playing as that character throughout that round, and you'd have very specific skills tailored towards this kind of MOBA style game. So I think it could work really well. I think Guild Wars 2 could make it work really well, but we do have to look at what they've done before, so don't get too excited too quickly. Though having said all that, there have been quite a few occasions where the devs have said in interviews, oh yeah, I play lots of League of Legends, or I play lots of Horn, or so forth. So yeah, maybe they're fans of the genre and they'll actually get it quite right. But yeah, that's something kind of big going on. Alright, the question for today is from M. Pascal, who says, hey WP, I've seen some of your dailies and I decided to try my luck with my doubts about Guild Wars 2. Classes. I must tell you that I've played the game since the 27th of August and I still don't have any character at 80 because I can't decide what I want to master first. Now I'm with Elementalist and I saw your build and I see it looks really cool and fits its role, and I want to play with Elementalist, which is making good damage and still able to live the entire fight. But then it doesn't feel like my own, which makes me kind of sad because I would try to follow a certain build in other MMOs because people think they're the best and any other build would be not so good build. Do you have any advice that would help with my problem? I would say at least, when you compare it to the first one, Guild Wars is pretty good actually. There's not too much build discrimination going on. Some situations, some classes certainly do need to spec into specific roles for some things, but it's really not that heavily enforced. I don't know whether that's because of a lack of truly challenging PvE content, and obviously the way they've set up PvP so you don't have to match up with teams before going in, so people don't really have the opportunity to build discriminate, except with their own private teams. So it could be a part of that, but regardless, you do have quite a lot of freedom, I'd say, with your build, because you are at the end of the day locked into something that is reasonably viable. You have to have heal skill on there, you have to have an elite skill. This is the reason why they made the system this way, so that no matter what you do, you are, as long as you're spending all your traits and as long as you're using all your skills, which should be intuitive to any player, you are at least serviceable. But this idea of you want your own unique build, I can kind of understand that. I know how you feel. You want a build that is pretty unique to you but is also really effective. That's something that's very, very difficult to get right, because not everyone can have their own unique build, let's face it, unless you have an incredibly open system with millions and millions of combinations, but a lot of them can end up being dud combinations. And Guild Wars 2 does have a lot of variations and things you can change, but not many of them are really significant. Deciding whether you're going to put your last 5 points into one line or another so you can get a minor trait is only a very slight difference to the way you play the game compared to if you had an entirely new weapon that you could go with. They're different decisions you can make, but they have seriously varying impact. So Guild Wars 2's kind of made the system where most of the builds are pretty good. No matter where you kind of go into, everything's got some use. There are some really bad things you can do, I guess, but to most people you're going to be viable with pretty much anything you choose. But then the drawback there, of course, is it is kind of hard to feel entirely unique. Their original vision for the trait system was that traits would actually change your skills. Like your skill might do one really powerful lightning bolt, or it might do 3 little ones that strike, and that obviously was dropped. So now the question is there enough uniqueness or variety there? I think there still probably is. My recommendation for you, if you want to feel like you're playing a unique build but you're not copying anyone, or you feel like you've not just been shafted into the meta because that's the only thing you can do, is do look at videos like those videos I did about my Elementalist. Do look at those. Use that as a base though. Play with it for a little while, get a feel for how it goes, and then just completely retrait yourself. Do something completely left wing, something you feel like would all be perfect in theory for you, and then play with that and compare your experiences. Think back to the original build you were using, the one you know is reasonably good, and think, well, what am I really missing? And then try and build something halfway between the two. you. That way you've got your own kind of flavour, your own style on it, but you know that you're at least based in some kind of realm of, okay, this is a good build. That would be my recommendation. And also it helps you to get that feeling of building your own thing, which is, to me, a big part of playing games like this. Actually creating your own build rather than just copy-pasting off of someone else. It is one of the most rewarding things you can do in the game right now. So that would be my recommendation, and that goes the same for any of the classes. There are certain things the devs are saying, like Rangers, for example, apparently they don't have many builds at all, and there is some kind of a Ranger update going out soon that the devs haven't even specifically said what they're doing with it. They said it would be something of a spoiler to say specifically what they're changing, what mechanics they're changing. So Christ knows what they're going to be doing there, but the Ranger might be an example of a class that really can only be super fun with certain skills and certain builds. I think obviously because Guild Wars 2 lets you go all the way up to level 80, you get a lot more time as well to just work your way into a build that you know that you like. You get a lot of time before you hit that statistical cap to know how good you feel like your build is, and you can continuously tweak it anyway. I think that's a big part of the game. You never really settle on one build. Don't feel like it's some wall you have to climb over, and once you've got a build, that's it. It's game over. You don't care. You're just going to use that build forevermore. Feel free to change it up, and certainly I would use a different build when I'm just running around in World versus World compared to when I'm in a specific dungeons. If you don't, you're kind of missing out a little bit. You're just letting everyone else do the legwork, which really isn't legwork. It should be a part of the fun. But there you go, guys. That's Guild Wars 2 Daily for today. Thanks very much for watching. A bit of news, I guess. Next week, I'm not going to be doing daily. I've got tons of jumping puzzles and explorable things to go out, along with the Let's Play. And starting tomorrow, I'm doing something new, which is actually going to be 2 videos. So in the interest of not putting out 6 damn things every day, and because I've already put the Let's Play off for a week, I'm going to have daily go off for a week, just so that we actually have a reasonable amount, and I'm just spamming all of your pages. And hopefully that's alright for you guys. If you do feel like there's a bit of a deficit, this other thing I'm starting to do with other games is actually daily as well, so maybe that will kind of fill the void for the week. Do let me know what you think about that, guys, as well. As I say, I'm a little bit nervous for how you'll take to it, but hopefully all will go well. So thanks, guys, and I will see you tomorrow.